Hey, what's up, guys? Today I want to go over my tier list for post Alliance Insight, aka YCS Rhode Island format. I'm just going to get started because this is probably going to be a very long video. Starting off, I got Blue Eyes Primite. I'll put it tier 3. Blue Eyes Primite is pretty solid, you can still play a lot of non-engine, which is cool. The M board going first it's pretty decent, all things considered, and it's really good versus Charmy cards, which we're going to see a lot of play right now. The reason I have it at tier 3 and not like higher though, even though I just named a bunch of positives, is I think the deck got worse going second. It's really hard to go second versus like Malice, Horizon, and Mitsugi right now. You basically decks want to play the Molcharmy cards as their answer. I feel like Molcharmy cards are not great to main deck in Blue Eyes though, because Blue Eyes wants its non-engine to be live when it goes first, because to supplement the end board, right? So I think that's a problem for Blue Eyes. It doesn't deal with half boards very well. It can be hard to win in the grind game versus like Malice once they start get going. So I think Blue Eye struggles there. So that's why I have it at like tier 3, and I don't think it's like tier 2 or tier 1, but it's still overall a solid deck. Uh, yeah, next deck, Pyramid Tsurugi. I think Pyramid Tsurugi is tier 2. I think the deck has a lot going for it right now. It can play a lot of non-engine, like most decks right now. The board is good versus Malice. It's like so-so versus Raziel. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that the board's crazy versus Raziel, but it's like decent. Uh, it can play Dominus Impulse, which the Raziel variant cannot do, which is really good because Dominus Impulse is a very good hand trap right now. The Mitsugi deck also is better versus Sumble Charmies than the Raziel variant. It's one of the better decks versus Sumble Charmies in general. Really good with Perulia, really good to Fuelos. Pretty solid. Meowth is unironically probably one of the better Charmies versus the deck. Not even that good. You get like 2 draws max. But I mean, better than like 1 draw, I guess. But yeah, I think Pure Mitsugi has a lot going for it right now. I think it's pretty decent. As for the negatives of Pure Mitsugi, um, I guess to start off, I think Pure Mitsugi is weird because like you have 1 card combos, but it's really a 2 card combo deck, right? But it has 2 card combos are kind of lackluster because it plays a lot of dependent cards. For example, the ritual spell, the ritual monsters, like even it plays a lot of bricky cards, but also a lot of dependent cards. Like ritual spell isn't really a brick. You play 3 of it because you want to open it in the deck. But there are a lot of times where you get interrupted a certain way, your ritual spell is just dead. So it plays a lot of cards like that. So and it can have some consistency problems, I think, because it plays too many of those cards and not enough like cards to just straight up do something. So I think that's a weakness for the deck. Uh, Another weakness is that going second, it can struggle sometimes because you only have so many ways to like ritual summon, and depending on the reaction your opponent has, it can be rough. Also, it's really hard for you to remove certain cards. For example, if you're playing against Malice and they just make Cyber's Wicked, that card, which protects their monsters from being destroyed by card effects, and you can't destroy Cyber's Wicked by battle, you basically just lose the game. They get too much follow up, and you can't actually kill their board. So I think Miss Ruby Pure struggles there, but like I mentioned before, better versus Charmies than Raizo variant, so yeah, it's cool there. Fire King, I'm gonna put in Rogue. No, it's like playable. I think the Malice matchup is really rough, like really rough. So I think that's like not a good thing for the Fire King deck. It still has some consistency issues. Perulia is seeing more main deck play, and Perulia is very solid versus this deck, which is not like FDK, but it's pretty solid. This deck is good versus Fleur though, which is cool. But yeah, it's probably around Rogue. Mermell Lantan. I'm putting in tier 2. This is also one of the top decks right now. Uh, Unlike Blue Eyes, for example, this deck is a deck that wants to main deck Flinch armies. It is one of the better decks out of all these decks going second in the meta right now. The engine's just really strong going second. Dweller's not a card anymore. It's really nice. You can blow through boards really easily. In terms of weaknesses of the deck, how do I say it? You arguably don't play that much non-engine, but it's still like a lot. It's like 15 and like 43-ish, but it's not as much as some of the other decks. But Joel is seeing more play, is going to see more play, and Joel is really good versus you, and then Fu is also pretty decent against you as well, so you have to deal with those hand traps, but otherwise, and the deck can play Impulse too, which is pretty nice. I think Mermell is really solid right now. I'll talk about this later. Live Twin Fiends, they got new support. I'm going to put it in tier 3. It's a cool Fiends deck. I might put it worse than Blue Eyes, actually, I'm not going to lie. Live Twin Fiends. Yeah, like I said, it's a new Fiends deck. Um, It's cool. You can play a lot of non-engine, which is nice. The inboard is good versus Malice, but not that good versus Ryzel. I guess that's like a common theme. Because just the Ryzel cards are just so good going second. Like X Ryzel is just like crazy. So dealing with that is like super hard. It's like pops and stuff like that. You know, 1X can kind of clear like half of the board by itself, which is crazy. And your interruption doesn't really deal with like the Mitsugi cards that well, so that's not great for the deck. The deck is pretty bad into Fua, like really bad, but it's good into all the other hand traps though, which is pretty good. So your opponent doesn't have Fua, you're probably chilling. So the deck wants to play like Droll in the main deck, so it's like has a pseudo Fua counter, but yeah. But I think Last Thesis it's like okay, like I said, you can play a lot of non-engine, which is nice. It's pretty chill. Uh, One more weakness is that the deck does not have many pushes. You have your normal summon, you have Engraver. If your opponent removes your normal summon, let's say they like Mirror Combo board wipe, you really only have Engraver as another push. So that kind of feels weak. Also, you play a lot of normal summon type cards, so I feel like the engine is lackluster going second into some decks. So that's why I have it as like tier 3. And like the end board issue too. But otherwise, it's not bad. Memento is another tier 2 deck, probably somewhere around here. Memento is really cool. It's one of the also like top decks, one of arguably the best decks before Alliance Insight. Memento is nice. Molcharmies are getting more popular. Memento beats every single Molcharmy pretty much. Memento is one of those decks that you don't really care about like any hand trap for the most part, except one I want to talk about in a minute. But you don't really care about the hand traps like that, so that's like a reason to play the deck. Like it's kind of like Mitsugi, but like on crack versus like Molcharmies. Like Mitsugi barely cares about Molcharmies. Memento really doesn't care about Molcharmies, which is nice. Um, I think you can struggle going second versus Malice sometimes, which is not good for the deck. So I think that's something that like keeps the deck like from being a bit better. And then I think it has consistency issues, which I also think Mermell has a little bit, by the way, but not as much as Memento. So those are like the main weaknesses of Memento. But outside of that, the deck is crazy. If you go first, you're probably winning the game. Going second versus Malice is rough though. Not only because like hard to pick non-engine that's good versus them, because you can't play that much too. And a card like Brillia is only good versus Malice if you're drawing into other non-engine with it. But also the thing with Memento versus Malice is that they have Impulse as a card. By itself, Impulse does not stop you that much. However, a lot of the way this deck wants to go second is using like the quick play spells, and Impulse kind of stops all of them. So going second when they have Impulse is like very difficult. And that's why I'm Memento tier 2 and not like more higher. Odeon Phoenix, this deck is mid. Phoenix cards I think got worse. They're not that great going second against Malice. Overall, I think Odeon's kind of mad. The card, you play a lot of bricky cards. Deck doesn't do that much. I'm not going to spend much time talking about it. For Genesis Cashira, I will put this deck in rogue tier as well. It's cool. It's a deck that like wants to get into a grind game, which is kind of unfortunate because like Malice and Raizo Mitsugi are super crazy decks right now, and they want to like they're super combo based, which is this deck doesn't really want to play in the combo format. Especially since like Malice can like banish your resources from the graveyard. It like if they white bind or banish your resources, it doesn't matter if you make it to turn 3. You lost a lot of your pushes, so I think that's like really rough for the deck. Perulia is seeing main deck play. Perulia is absolutely insane versus the deck. When you're playing a deck like Genesis Cashira, you're playing it because it's supposed to be good versus all the non-engine. It's good versus Fua. It's not good versus Perulia, so that's not really good versus the deck. Also, the deck just has randomly a lot of conflictions. It's very clunky in ways you wouldn't expect. For example, this image has Regenesis Archfiend and Cashira Unicorn. Two of like quote unquote some of your good starters for each like deck, right? Those cards are actually not good to draw together. If you draw a Unicorn, if you special Unicorn, Unicorn gets topped. Archfiend needs a card in hand to reveal to summon itself. If you summon Archfiend first by revealing Unicorn, then you can't special Unicorn. So I think that's like really awkward. There's a lot of awkward stuff like that in the deck, and I think the engine's not great going second. But it's cute. Ryzen Mitsugi, tier 1. I think the deck is crazy. They can play a lot of non-engine. The engine is one of the best engines at going second. It's pretty good versus most hand traps. The two hand traps that are good versus it though, are really good versus it, are Droll and Perulia. However, Droll's not seeing that much main deck play because people are choosing to main deck Charmies over it, so that's pretty good for the Ryzen deck. And yeah, it's just overall like one of if not the most solid deck right now. Pure Ryzel, I'm gonna put it in tier 2. It's arguably tier 3. I'll put it in tier 2. It feels better than Blue Eyes and Aliance Insight, definitely. Pure Razio is cool. You can play the most non-engine in the format. Arguably, Aliance Insight can play like the same amount, but they can play like the most, which is really cool. However, image consistency is like fine, but it's not good consistency, right? So you have like enough starters, but the problem is half of your starters are low quality. You know, you have your X Sword Ice, 7th Tachyon, 7th Ascension, Bonfire, and Prosperity. I think the problem is that like half of those cards are bad. 7th Tachyon, 7th Ascension, Sword. I don't want to start my turn with any of those, you know? And in the format where Foolish Fiend play, Normal Summon Ice and Pure isn't even that great. I mean, it's like whatever, but you know. So like, I think losing the starters and the ban list kind of hurt the deck a bit. You really don't want to have like those 7th Tachyon cards going second. Also, the deck gets destroyed by Pyrulia and Droll. I think those cards are very good versus the deck, so that's not great for Rivals. But outside of that, the deck is chill. Um, Also, one thing I'll say, even though you can play the most non-engine, it doesn't feel like there's that much good non-engine to play because some hand traps got worse. So it doesn't even matter that much that you can play that much. But yeah, Rise of Phoenix, this deck is D tier. It's unplayable. Don't play it. I mean, it's probably like Rogue realistically, but like people are coping on this deck. I hate that they're coping on it. And I'll just put it. It's technically Rogue. I'll be real, but I don't even want to talk about it. I'm gonna get tilted. Snake Eye. This deck loses. This deck is very weak versus the common hand traps right now. And it plays Fiend. Its engine is not that great going second. This deck was pretty cool right before Alliance Insight because some of the boards that some decks were making, like where you could beat with like engine, which is really nice, and some of the hand traps weren't seeing as much play, and people were just playing less non-engine in general. Well, Charmies and Joel are seeing more play, which is really rough, and overall it's just a lot weaker than all these other decks. So yeah, Unchained Fiendsmith, arguably D tier, but also in Rogue. Shivarditude, which is cool. Unchained cards are not good. They're just not. They're not good going second. Two card combos are weak versus interaction. Makes the deck hard going second. The deck gets destroyed by Thulos. It can play like an okay amount of non-engine, but not more than other decks. There's no real reason to play Unchained Fiendsmith. It's just worse than all the other Fiendsmith decks. White Forest. This deck is Rogue, or at least pure White Forest anyway. Um, I will say one good thing about White Forest. It is really good versus Fua. Like really, really good versus Fua. Let me speed up a little bit. So that's a bit positive. It's weak versus Droll. It's weak versus Perulia. It has consistency issues, even though it just got a new starter card, which is crazy. Because you still post support, you have 10 good cards to open, 10 copies, right? Field Spell, Terraforming, Elzet, and Sylvie. Those are the 10 cards in my deck I really want to open. After that, it's like kind of mid, so not really a fan. It plays a lot of bricky / dependent cards, which is not really what you want from a deck. And I think the engine's weak going second. So I think White Forest, even though it's kind of hype right now, is kind of meh. Tier, the deck has an unplayable Malice matchup. I mean, it's not unplayable, but it's like really rough. I think it's like no. Grishon's probably just like C tier. I think it's cool. It can like I just think it's cool. You can still play a lot of non-engine. The M board's like good. It's good enough. Anything else on traps negates is like pretty chill versus Raja Mitsu as well. And Lingribo does not stop the trap card, which is nice. Well, for multiple reasons. Number one, Lingribo can only negate trap card activation, not effects. But also, it can't be banished anyway. But yeah, I have it at tier 3 though, not higher. I think it does have consistency issues, but I think also the Malice matchup is just bad. Like, it's a deck where you're trying to like one of its strengths is like the grind game, and like turn 3, starting your turn with your graveyard filled up. We're not like in the combo format right now. You're not trying to grind. Also, the Malice matchup, like them being able to attack the graveyard like Whitebinder is like annoying. So I think Krishan is whatever. Yeah. Also, a benefit to playing the deck before is that it dodges pistols, but now pistols are seeing a lot less play. So, White Forest Fiendsmith, I put that in tier 3. I think the deck is better with the Fiendsmith than without. Fiendsmith does help you with a lot of your problems. It makes the deck better versus Perulia. It makes the deck better versus Droll because you can like go Engraver Search Saint, or you can turn 2 bodies into your Fiendsmith combo. Also, the deck has consistency issues, like I said. So Engraver is like pseudo engine. So if you draw like Engraver plus like multiple non-engine, like multiple hand traps, that's still fine. Even if you don't draw like White Force engine. So I think Engraver is really good for the deck for that reason. It has some cool synergies too, like you can like LZ and like Requiem equip, but I think the deck wants to play Fiend Smith. You should play Fiend Smith. Yubel, Rogue, you destroy by a lot of hand traps. In general, all the other decks are making like insane boards too. Well, not all of them. Like Blue Eyes isn't, Last One isn't, but and Pyramids isn't, but the other decks are. But yeah, unfortunately, it is not the premier combo deck anymore. Malice, Malice, Malice. On every tier one deck, any deck is crazy. It's even the decks, the Molcharmies, it's good versus like the Molcharmies pretty much, except like Meows. The deck is engine's really strong. It plays through hand traps insanely well. The engine's like okay going second. It's not Mitsugi Rizos has a better engine going second, 100%. But I think Malice is better versus like non-engine people who are playing the main deck because it's not like you can main land it. You can't main Chaos Center. So and this is like the best deck in the format in my opinion. Malice Fiendsmith, I feel like it can't utilize backup secretary as well, which is rough. Also, I don't really want to draw Fiendsmith cards going second into the mirror match. And you can't play Impulse as well. I think it's like hot. I think Fiendsmith is not really great in the deck, in my opinion. Also, one of the benefits of the deck before was being good with Lancia, but now Lancia, you have like backup as another good card versus it, so I don't know. And then these are basically the same deck. Loki might be better than like the last one version, I think being better with Fu is nice. Yeah, I mean, yeah, these are the same thing, so like whatever. Oh well, I'll just put them together, but they're like the same deck. But yeah, it's around the same level as the live Thief deck. I'm not 100% sure what is better. But I mean, yeah, I guess Primate version can play better versus Fua. Having Regain going first versus Mouse is pretty nice. Uh, you have Drill Beam for like the Rizal decks, which is really good as well. Yeah, might be actually better versus live than I think about it. Better than live one, sorry. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the tier list. I think it looks pretty solid. Maybe like one of these decks go to D tier, but other than that, I think it's chill. If you enjoy, wow, 17 minutes. Okay. Yeah, that's it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe.